the B&O A1 second gen. It's been a bit of a love and not quite hate relationship. It's so near to being a great speaker, but issues for me, it's £200. It doesn't quite go loud enough. It doesn't play quite enough. It's a narrow band of volume at which it plays, but when it plays and when it's in its sweet spot, it's quite remarkable for its size in terms of real deep bass that you can hear, that you can feel. And when you've got the tweeter on axis, it's pretty clear. It sounds a mature listen, but it's just lacking a little bit of excitement. It just doesn't go loud enough, on the verge of greatness, but not quite achieving it. It would be a great £100 speaker, but for £200, it needs to be a go-to speaker, and it's never going to be a go-to speaker for me because not quite going loud enough, even with two of them, to be a satisfying enough listen because of the way it's tuned. Now, been asked, how's it compared to that? How's it compared to that? I'm trying to fulfill some of the requests as much as I can. Three of the speakers that you've asked for: the Flip 5, which was a surprise to me; the Denon, which is a bit old in the tooth now. It came out in 2017, but it's still holding its own. You know, when we first started getting Bluetooth speakers, we were getting new ones every 6 months to a year, and now it seems 1, 2, 3 years. Certainly in the case of the A1 and JBL, it's all slowing up. We're not getting new speakers, you know, in the way we expected in the past. I guess they've got to get their money back, and maybe the market's shrinking, I don't know. But a 3-year-old speaker like the Denon is certainly still one of the top players. And a new one for me, the Soundcore Anker Flare 2, a speaker that I do like. Got to say, just because I like a speaker doesn't mean it's a flat frequency response and it's an audiophile quality speaker. I like what I like, and it really doesn't matter how it measures. You've asked about these three in particular. You have asked about others. I'm going to try and get to them if I've got time before I'm sending my two A1s back. I cannot justify holding on to them at the price. I'd rather wait another 6 months and get one or two second-hand and save a few bob that way, because it's not going to be a speaker I go to all the time. I do listen to the two. I do listen to the two A1s, and it's an enjoyable listen. But I'm listening at 100% volume, and I'm on the edge of, well, just a bit more, and it's just not quite delivering. So they are quite different. So we've got our 60-watt Beoplay A1 second gen. It's up against the Denon, which on paper is 27 watts, less than half the watts of this. So it's got no chance, has it? 27 watts can never beat a 60-watt speaker. Then we've got the JBL Flip 5. A bit surprised me that more than a few people are asking about it. This is a speaker that's rated at even less, at 20 watts. And then we have our Flare 2, which is rated at also 20 watts. So the three of these together are just about what this one's rated at, 60 watts. And here's the thing, on paper you're thinking, wow, what a total mismatch. So is it? Well, the first clue will be in this clip where I'm starting playing the A1 at 83% volume, because quite honestly, I don't really listen to it at lower than that. There's not much point in me making the clips where I don't think they're real world volumes below that. And obviously some people at late at night or whatever will be listening lower, but for a majority of people, I don't think you're going to listen to this lower than that. And then we have the problem, you'll see in the clip where I put what the volume was to try and match them before making the recording, I do it by pink noise. I try and get the matched volume-wise pink noise, and then adjust again, normalize in post-processing to get the volumes as close to each other as possible. And you will see 83% on this, for instance, 83% on my A1, which means on the Flare 2, I'm recording that at 69%, the Flip 5, 46%, and the Denon, 56%. Total mismatches. So I can't really do, you know, low volume comparisons. And that's already your first clue where we're going in this. However, volume for volume, when it's 83% on the A1, and I'm trying to match the volumes, how do they compare? What do they sound like? So I've got to admit, I don't listen to the Denon all that much. And always, one reason is because I put it on the shelf for a couple of weeks, and by the time I pick it up, the battery is at 0 and I have to recharge it. And so I do forget sometimes just how much it offers. The thing is, I do listen at quite loud volumes, and when I push the Denon, it can't really match some of the other speakers that I'm using. Even the Motion Plus will go noticeably louder. At the volumes that I use it, it struggles a little bit. However, in this comparisons, certainly against the A1, at 83% and 56%, to me it's the clear winner. I forget just how nicely balanced and hi-fi-ish this speaker is. For me, the issue has always been slightly veiled, well, not so much veiled vocals, but they're not very forward. I do like my vocals to break free of the rest of the track and of the speaker itself. Whereas my issue has always been with the Denon, to me, the vocals are a bit recessed. They're there, they're clear, but recessed. It doesn't quite come alive in the way I like it. However, it is a great speaker. It is a very mature speaker. And while the A1 does have a bit more lower bass, because it does seem to have a peak around the 50-55 hertz mark, which helps it clearly to maintain lower bass, slightly a bit more upper bass on the Denon. So for me, that was a win for the Denon. When it comes to against the Flip 5, well, the A1 is just a better speaker. It's just a better listen. I've never really liked the Flip 5 much on its own. I find it a bit wearing. I get bored with it very easily. Two of them, it's a different matter. Two of them are quite exciting. But the mono Flip 5 against the mono A1, I mean, the A1 does kind of justify its price. When we're talking about prices, I should have mentioned, it's $160, still for the Denon, 3 years old. It's still £160 speaker, £200 the A1. It's just 65 quid for the Flare 2. It's the cheapest of the bunch, £89 for the Flip 5. So bear that in mind when I make these comparisons. And against the Flare 2, the issue I enjoy listening to the Flare 2. I do like the way the speakers fire to the side. I find it very pleasant. With my tuning, you'll notice I've put in my custom settings, so it just gives it a bit more sweetness to the default settings. You can't do much with the bass, however, I did push it a little bit. And the trouble is, it already has like a wet farty sound. So it's not the most pleasant. It does sound a little bit out of control, almost as though it's distorting, but it's not. That is how the bass sounds. Even if I brought those sliders down for the bass, it would still sound like that. But with some tracks more than others, it's going to really sound completely out of control. And against the A1, well, I mean, there's, that's a proper bass, well controlled, quite sharp, and that's a bit fluffy. But I will say, I do like, it's not holding up well in the comparison, but it is a speaker I do like in real life. So, okay, we've got to push it a bit, and I was already at 83%. So watch the volumes that I've actually recorded at in the clip. I'm going to be playing this at 100%. Why? Because I listen to it at 100%. To me, these are my real world volumes. And then I'm matching the volumes with the other speakers. So in the real world, the volumes I listen at, how do they compare?
Take the ball from me, bigger to not fumble. Break the wall for me, need the brick to crumble. And this is past its prime, this is Fred Durst. I'm running out of time, things are only getting worse. Say goodbye to the 2020 vision. Things are blurry now and I'm sitting in this prison. I'm wondering why I've been put in this position. Someone check my pulse, I'm not in the best condition. But maybe now I can really start to listen and use this transition and view them my ambition. And maybe now I can give myself permission to see what I've been given and not focus on what's missing.
Say goodbye to the 2020 vision. Visions are blurry now when I'm sitting in this. Say goodbye to the 2020s are blurry now when I'm sitting. Say goodbye to the 2020 visions are blurry now when I'm sitting. Say goodbye to the 2020s are blurry now when I'm sitting. Right this time, yeah. Passion
think even more, you hear the differences now between the A1 and the Denon. The fact that this is mono, I'm playing a single one. We do have a stereo. We have a mature sounding and stereo speaker. And you really do get the benefits of that. Don't forget, I'm recording this 45 degrees on, which I think is how most people are going to listen. Although I am hearing a lot of people now say they do listen to it on axis. It does seem to be tuned on axis, weirdly. And you've got these thingy here from which you can be hanging it from things. I put them in little tape holders to keep it on axis. However, I do think most people probably put it that way, and it will benefit a little bit from being on a solid surface. Will help the bass a little bit. However, again, was a bit surprised, although, you know, the A1 still has substantially bigger 50 hertz peak, where it does seem to be EQ'd to have that, whereas, however, the Denon does have the upper hand when it comes to upper bass and overall a bit more balanced sound. The JBL, you know, against these speakers, sounds a bit of a toy, I must say. I mean, I never enjoyed it on its own, as I said, but it's like half the track is missing. It's like you've got the vocals and then you've got your bass, and it's not even really a bass. It's they've given it a huge upper bass peak, and that's all they've given it, and then there's nothing else below it. So I mean, it's completely tuned for, you know, for all that amp to stick the power, to stick the power, to stick the power at this little bit of a upper bass peak around the 100 hertz. But in comparison, it's not. I know people like it, but you know, when you hear these speakers AB, it's a different matter altogether. However, more than twice the price is the A1, so I guess there should be the difference. However, 65 quid, it actually is the cheapest of the bunch, is a speaker I like, but it does sound dull. Now, at these volumes, in comparison to the A1, it is quite track dependent, you know, on how out of control that bass does sound. It does have a particular nature to its bass that is not particularly accurate. However, it does go quite low, surprisingly low, just doesn't sound that great. However, as a listen at 65 quid, I do like this speaker. The other issue is it rolls off quite a bit at the high end, so you are losing out in clarity tone. But just remember, these are firing to the sides, so it's completely off axis, whereas even though that's on its side and I'm doing it 45 degrees, I'm doing it with the tweeter firing forwards, so the tweeter is on axis. So is that a huge disadvantage in these tests? And don't forget, 360 degree speaker, you listen to that, the other side of it, if it really trying to do it in 360 degree mode, and that's going to sound exactly the same when you actually go around the other side. It's going to swing the balance back towards the Flare too. So as a proper 360 degree speaker, I still think this holds up quite well, but not in these straight one axis comparisons. So, okay, it was at 100%, so we've still got headroom in our other speakers. So where does that leave us? Let's maximum volume test.
She loves me as she needs to know I love her. I wonder if we'll make it through this summer. Just wanna touch like back when we were younger. Yeah. Why don't you love me, love me, love me? Touch me, touch me, touch me no more. Why don't you love me, love me, love me? Touch me, touch me, touch me no more. Some trouble. When he's around, my problems seem like double. His stupid eyes put me on ice, so no. Don't slow me down, don't wanna do this solo. Why don't you love me, love me, love me? Touch me, touch me, touch me no more. Why don't you love me, love me, love me? Touch me, touch me, touch me no more. Touch me, touch me, touch me. Love me, love me, love me.
maximum volume, the Denon Flip 5, the A1, the Anker Flare 2. Denon clearly the loudest, clearly has the biggest bass. Lower bass 65 Hz, minus 24.7, so there's 5 dB up on the other 3 speakers. Upper bass minus 22, at least 2 dB up on all the other speakers. The Flip 5 does have a big upper bass boost, but it doesn't sound particularly pleasant at maximum volume, quite screechy, compressed, thin sounding. It's not very balanced, although technically it's the second loudest, depending on how you measure it. Minus 16.3, technically louder in LUFS than the Denon. RMS though, about a dB behind the Denon 250. Then we get the A1. A1 does sound smooth, does sound balanced, but it just doesn't go loud enough. Bringing up the rear. The Flare 2, but I say bringing up the rear. Weirdly, on the peak reading, it was the loudest, but that obviously is instantaneous loudness, not average loudness in any way. I guess because it does have upper bass, lower mids boost. The A1 did not hold up as much as I was expecting it to in the lower bass. Minus 30.1, about a dB up on the Flip 5, and about half a dB up on the Flare 2, but well behind the Denon 250. Now, in terms of who's the most accurate, here's the original bottom right, and to my eyes, the only two that look particularly accurate are the Denon and the A1, and of those two, the Denon looks quite close, quite accurate compared to the original track. The Flip 5, it looks like a completely different track, and the Flare 2, something in between the Denon A1 and the Flip 5. So it was a surprise to me that the bass didn't hold up quite as much as I was expecting. And you can see how loose this is, and I've made that point in another video. Once you take this grill off, certainly on my two, it's never a proper fit again. Even though it looks as though it should be, my advice is do not attempt to remove your grill because it's never going to fit quite the same again. And if you want a watertight seal, you're going to have an issue. Even though I could twist that as hard as I want, I guarantee that'll come loose. And loose enough that you will hear some vibrations in bass heavy tracks at volume. That is an issue that is worth noting. Amongst many other issues that the A1 has got, even though it has a nice sound when it's at at its sweet spot in terms of volume. So the Denon, to me, clear winner. More so than I was expecting. It didn't hold up quite as well, the A1 in the bass. I do take these measurements on the. It's not a pink noise test. These are all my measurements are on the actual tracks. So it will, between videos, it can be a little bit of a different result depending on tracks that I'm playing. But on that track, Denon was clearly the winner. Yes, the Flip 5 does go quite loud, but it's a piercing sound. It's really unpleasant. It's not something I want to listen to long term. So technically the A1 coming up there in third place, but yeah, it certainly beats the Flip 5 at these volumes. The Flare 2, I was a bit disappointed in these tests. I said in real life, I do like listening to it. It's quite nice, but it doesn't hold up well. It's a £65 speaker. It's not holding up that well against 160, 200 pound speakers. The Denon did a lot better than I was expecting. Because I don't listen to it as much as I should because of mostly that battery issue and also the wet handles vocals compared to other speakers that I've got on hand to listen to. But it's not that much bigger in real terms, and in terms of actual weights, where we at? They're all quite similar, even though they have different form factors. 558 grams for the A1, 602 grams for the Flare 2. A little bit bigger, 750, but not by that much. So, we're not talking heavy speakers. 750 for the Denon, and again, 540. Now, these three are very, very similar in weight. That Flip 5, 540 grams. So, although different form factors in terms of what it would weigh in a bag, you're carrying it, you're traveling, not that much of a difference. On this test, though, the Denon comes out on top. However, always, as I said many times before, it's a form factor. You've got to want that form factor and something serious in that small, particular form factor. And the fact that you can hold it. It is weird. It seems to be tuned for on axis rather than off axis. But I will finish my video by just pointing out we've got aptX in the Denon and the A1. But we've only got SBC in the Flare. Obviously in the cheaper speakers, the Flare 2 and the Flip 5, which kind of gives away where we are. We're more hi-fi-ish on these two, and we're more, a kid's bedroom, I don't know, on these two speakers. As I said, I do like the Flare 2, but it's not, I'm not going to say it's a serious speaker, but it's something that can put a smile on my face. The Denon is a serious listen, but it's against the others that I would listen to that have a similar sound, not quite there. But in its form factor, still great. And the A1, just it's an almost speaker for me, but not quite, and it's going to have to go back. Although I will still try and do a couple more videos on the speakers you've asked me to compare it to. Although the views seem to be going down on this speaker. Maybe I've done too many, I don't know. But I just do things that interest me. I was interested in how it compared to these speakers. And I was a bit surprised and disappointed that it didn't hold up a bit better. I was expecting the bass to hold up a bit better. I don't know why it didn't on that particular track, but let's face it, it does have a boost at 50 Hertz. You know, it does look like it's been EQ'd in, and you do hear that 50 Hertz. You do hear true lower bass with this speaker. And if that's where you enjoy your music, you're going to like that speaker in its form factor. Hope you got something out of this particular A1 comparison, and thank you for watching.